Peter Piper picked up Pepper Potts.
Pepper Potts. Pepper Potts? This is what?
This is the Film Dogs.
Welcome to the Film Dogs. We're drafting.
I'm Mr. B.
I'm Lord Marcus, the one and only, the reigning champ, the heavyweight, Thunderdome dominating drafter from Brisbane, Australia.
Extraordinaire. Tonight we're drafting movies, films from 2015.
There's a couple things that we need to get out of the way.
Yes, please tell me.
So I'm going to reference, it's not been published yet, but by the time you listen to this, it will have been published.
Your memoir?
2019's draft, Film Dogs draft, where you drafted A Marriage Story. And it got me to thinking that because our tastes are so similarly aligned and we have some of these draft picks, and this is going to be the most emotional draft yet for me. These films are like my children. They're also kind of like your children. And so I got to look at it like Marriage Story or Kramer versus Kramer. Some of the films are going home with dad, and some of them are going home with mom.
That's correct.
And it doesn't really mean that the films don't love dad. They might even prefer to want to be the dad. But the court says they got to go home with mom.
Yep, at least for a couple weeks.
But here's the thing. Once it's time for them to turn 18 and they can come live with dad, all the films are going to come over to Lord Marcus's camp. All the ones that I want. Trust that. So I might be a little emotional tonight, but I know eventually the family will reunite.
Reunite.
And it feels so good. All right. Another thing that I would like to bring up very previously is that since we did do the 2019 draft, you watched a film that I think you would prefer to have on your team, and I'm fully supportive of that.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a price. There needs to be something. It can't just be like, oh, well, because it devalues the draft saying, oh, as soon as we end up watching a film, we just swap them out.
No. Yeah.
But
you can't swap
just because you want to.
You've seen it.
No, but like in this case, you've seen A Hidden Life for the very first time.
Okay, yeah.
And you hadn't seen it on draft night, so you never would have picked it. So now
fair enough.
Now you've had a first watch of a film that took place in a year that we drafted. I would propose that you could swap out one of your movies and replace it with A Hidden Life.
Yeah, because that was 2023.
But it was made in 2019.
Was it 2019?
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, you're right. I'm trying to think about why it was 2023.
You know what? I'm tired of hearing people like I should. Of course, I'm right. What the fuck? All right, dude. What I'm proposing is because you drafted a drama, A Marriage Story.
Yeah.
If you want to replace it with A Hidden Life, I will allow it with a price.
With a price. What's the price?
I want the automatic first pick in tonight's draft.
You. Why don't you come over here and see what happened? Well, I mean, I already set a draft. I already picked a draft. It's not like you can steal A Hidden Life from me. It's just not on my team right now.
But it will end up never being on your team.
Why?
Because we've already drafted 2019.
Yeah, but then why would I be able to swap it now?
Because I'm introducing the concept of being like if you have a first watch.
Yeah.
So we did the 2019 draft. You watched a film by a director that you love, and now there's a film that you've seen for the first time. It wasn't available to draft, and now it's available for a trade.
Okay, so it's a pity draft, but this is the only scenario in which you will allow it to be swapped.
Yes.
And you want to have it for first pick tonight.
Which I might get anyway.
It's 2015, man. This is a pretty big year.
I might get the first pick anyway.
You might.
But I would just like to have it guaranteed. But it's up to
I'd
you.
like a guarantee.
If you want to say no, that's fine. You can keep Marriage Story, and A Hidden Life will just remain undrafted.
No, I'll do it. I'll swap it.
Boom.
I'll swap it.
Bam.
In a court of law, this is a binding contract. A Hidden Life now belongs to me in drama from 2015.
And you've given up
and a free agent
story.
Is a Marriage Story. I wonder whose team it's going to play for. Find out on this season of The Film Dogs.
This was a time travel piece from 2037, where we are the world's foremost and greatest podcasters on film of all time.
We're speaking
Ever.
to you from outer space.
Boom. All right. Well, we've got that out of the way, and we don't have to. I was going to suggest going forward for our first pick, instead of me doing a number pick, that we do a random. There's a randomizer app. I think that's what some of the other guys.
Oh,
use.
really? It said everybody who ever listened to us. Why is he writing it down on an old parchment
with ink and quill? But the ink's really his blood drawn by a pinprick.
Yeah, like that.
Exactly. All right. We are so happy to be here with you guys. And I'm telling you what, this is going to be, like I said, for me, super emotional. I think, I honestly think that our first 5 picks are going to be, like, we want each other's films. Whereas, like, the last couple was, like, maybe the first 2. This one's might even go, like, all 7 picks. I think that I know.
I'm going to fight you.
Here's the thing.
You and your dog.
I still do believe that we can both be super happy, get a super good draft that's representative of who we are, who our personal brand is. So I'll just say this. If you draft what you love first and don't worry about what I'm doing, you're going to be fine.
No, but there's darlings, there's awards, there's strategy. There is things that have to be drafted. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to fill up another box later.
I was going to maybe just tempt you into, I'm going to give you a forewarning. There's a film.
There is a film. Indeed.
There's definitely more than one, but there's one film in particular that I don't want to give away my strategy. I'm going to say there's a film that, considering the weight of published media, and this will never, ever be able to be erased, if you draft it, I'm going to reference it on every single show. Every single show, from here to eternity.
This is going to turn into a fight. Did you bring your machete?
I was like, I'd like to challenge you to a battle of wits.
A battle of wits.
But I see that you are unarmed.
Well, that's why I brought my knife.
That's not a knife.
That's not a knife.
All right. So shall we just get into some drafting?
Yeah. Bring up that randomizer app. I want to know who's going first.
I'm going first.
You
would like to have known who was going to go first? Was it worth the sacrifice?
Yes, because how do I know? I need to know.
We'll do it afterwards. Let's talk about 2015 first.
Yeah.
Where were you? What were you doing? What was your life like?
2015 was the year I got engaged to Mrs. B. We got married in 2016. So 2015, I was still working and living in Sydney, Australia, though I did have to move out of my dreamy studio apartment man cave and share a flat with another human leading up to my wedding to help, save some extra finance for the wedding and married life. So it was an interesting year. It was my final year at my job that I had down there. There was a lot of question marks that year. What about you?
I was in my last year of the travel industry, and then I went on a massively huge trip through China and Mongolia and South America.
How was the beef in Mongol?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Love that. I'd love to talk about Mongolia in depth, but yeah, 2015 was a big, I also went to Romania and Hungary and Turkey. It was a big travel year, so I still managed to see a lot of these films in the cinema, and it's one of my favorite years. Like
It's a
the amount
pretty
of 5
good
stars.
year.
Yeah, I think it's even better. I think it's the best one yet. So
You mean the best draft that we've done yet?
yet, yes, the
Okay.
results are going to be good either way. Like we're both going to have awesome lists. Not that we've neither had awesome lists. I think that we'll be pining, be like, oh man, I really wanted that one. Yeah, there's going to be 5 picks from either one of us. It'd be like, man,
Yeah.
I wish we had different tastes.
Well, I'm
Probably
definitely wondering. I think I know your first pick. So,
Do you?
Yeah. Do you want to get it out of the way, or do we have any other questions or formalities
I want to
about 2015 and the year that it was for us as human beings?
I'm ready to let the bloodletting begin.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna one last. You're gonna be like, man, I can't believe you've not picked this movie, and it'll come clear because I'm not gonna pick it straight away.
Okay. You've got a strategy, do you?
I'm giving you a fair warning. I don't think you should draft it. You'll know what it is. You'll know what it is. All right.
Okay.
With the first pick in the 2015 Film Dogs Draft by Alex Garland in Awards Darling, I'm taking Ex Machina.
Yeah. Yeah, I assumed it was this or this film, which I guess I'm going to have to draft because you forced my hand.
I think you better think a little bit long about that. But let's talk about Ex Machina real quick.
Yeah.
Ex Machina. Oh,
great.
My goodness. For like a realistic AI themed film, it's
that
top
feels
of the
current.
class.
Yeah. Acting superb.
Acting absolutely superb. Man, that disco scene. Woo.
Dude, and Oscar Isaac, big, like, we know he's good.
This is his best.
Yeah.
I also think the same about Gleason, and I think the same thing about Vikander. And I also think the same thing about Gart. Like this was peak from like everybody. Like it was so good. We won't get too far into it. I will. Did you see Ex Machina in the theater?
No, I didn't. You were the one that actually kind of turned me on to it.
The synopsis I'll just read from Letterboxd. Caleb, a coder at the world's largest internet company, wins a competition to spend a week at a private mountain retreat belonging to Nathan, the reclusive CEO of the company. But when Caleb arrives at the remote location, he finds that he will have to participate in a strange and fascinating experiment in which he must interact with the world's first true artificial intelligence housed in the body of a beautiful robot girl. And that's all that needs to be said. It is 5-star all the way through. Before Tar came out, I would say it was my challenger to Mulholland Drive as the greatest film of the 21st century. Love it.
It's pretty damn good.
And A24. So if you're into A24 films, then you've already seen it, I'm sure. But if you have just dipped your toes into the A24 pool and you like what you've seen.
Oh, come on in. The water is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
This film is fantastic. I showed it to Mrs. B and she enjoyed it as well.
He really is he's just a fantastic storyteller. This was his directorial debut. He was fit. He wrote The Beach. He wrote 28 Days Later. He wrote Never Let Me Go. He wrote Sunshine. So like he was always in that, but this was his debut feature. Oh man, it's one of the best films of all time. Are you kidding me? Come on. Let's get some love for Ex Machina. Go out and see it in the theater. You might have to time travel like we did.
Theater. Yeah, you might just have to wait.
I feel like it was just a couple of years ago. Did we, your first watch, was that with me?
My first watch of Ex Machina?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It deserves it's a first round, first pick, draft pick champion. This is a year that's actually full of them. And there was some, it's like, I know that was the one I need. That's the one I needed to take home. Sci-fi is my brand. heady sci-fi, highbrow, intellectual, great script. Alex Garland. That's just my brand. I could not have slept tonight knowing that I let that one slip by. I know that the next pick is going to do the same thing, and probably the pick after that, and the pick after that. I'm going to be emotional. Forewarning.
So your first pick,
Ex Machina.
Alex Garland.
And I've taken that in awards, darling, as it won Oscar for Best Visual Effects.
Interesting choice. The question is, do I take this film? But if I take this film, then you're going to take some other films from me.
I'm telling you right now that it's going to be a bloodbath. You better pick what you love the most. You better just take your 5-star films. It's the only thing you can do, dude, because we both want the top 10 films.
Yeah.
You got to pick the one that you want the most.
I'm going to go with Award Darling, and I'll take Mad Max Fury Road. That was 6 Oscars, I think it won. George Miller, epic. That was actually the one that got me into Mad Max. I was aware of the story and the storyline and Mel Gibson and that sort of thing, so I knew it was an updated story of the same story, but new actor. I like Tom Hardy. So I did see it in cinema, and it was a great experience in cinema. Took my father-in-law to see it as well for a bit of a man's night. So it was memorable, but it really set me alight to watch the rest of the George Miller and all the Mad Max. Yeah, because you especially liked him and couldn't believe that I hadn't seen all of them or even the older ones. And it's like they were always a series I was aware of, but ones that I never really watched. I loved Tom Hardy's performance in it, but I really liked his practical use of effects in Fury Road, and just a very interesting story.
I'm curious. Very good pick. If you could look at the multiple edits of my draft board, this sat at number 1 at various times, and I was like, okay, well, I don't think, maybe he thinks that I don't like it that much. Maybe he might try to save it. And if he takes one of the ones that is like a heart stab, it's going to be my revenge pick. This was my number 1 revenge pick. I was like, if he picks my favorite, if he gets the first pick, I was like, I'm picking Mad Max because I know that's going to cut deep and it's going to separate the Furiosa movie that's coming out too, since you got that in the anticipation draft. No, but that's it's a good pairing, and look, a great film. Like, I got to say, like, outside of The Matrix, I think that it would be maybe like the most modern, best action film that's just like an action film. Like, crazy good all the way around, from all of the acting, but particularly all of the action shots that was directed by George Miller. Man, these older guys are giving us the gems, and Terrence Malick's up there, Coppola's up there, Scorsese, like, dude, all these old guys are really bringing the heat. They're making the best films. They're making the best films of their careers.
Yep.
I wonder what that says about the industry-wide sort of crew that is available to help you deliver the films. But yeah, man, super good pick. Super, super good pick. I think you also saved that film to watch when you got your new TV. Was it the first film you watched on your big screen?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
I think it was too.
Yeah. Showed Mrs. B it as well.
All right. Time to move on into the draft.
Yeah, what you got?
All right. This is real difficult, but based on the last time, I'm going to have to go ahead.
Bloodbath.
I'm going to have to get what I consider to be his best film of all time. And it's going to be, people be like, oh, that's a hot take. Yeah. Because a lot of people say it's Pulp Fiction. But for me, Quentin Tarantino's masterpiece is The Hateful Eight. And that is going to be my second pick.
Okay.
In the 2015 draft. And I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
In drama.
Okay.
Talk to me about it. You seen it? You like it? What's up?
I knew this was on my draft. I had it mainly in 1 to 2 places that I could shift it around. And if I was honest, liked, but not needed. So, I mean, highly respected. So maybe this is a hot take as well. Highly respected, like bow down to Tarantino. It's great. Love it. But it doesn't, with all the other movies from this year and having to be very concise on a draft, it was lower on the list to where I go, I knew you would probably want it. So I'm glad you probably took it earlier because you're saving me some spots that I can fill now.
I have to look back and like I have seen this film at least as many times as Pulp Fiction, and probably for 21st century movies, I would say the only other films that I have seen more possibly has been La La Land and Ex Machina.
Yeah.
So it's a powerfully important film for me, and I think it just showcases everything that Tarantino does well. Like he was coming off of Django Unchained, he was already doing a Western. I think I think that he knew that the dialogue that he had written and these scenes and what was in his head was just so much powerful than Django that he was like, I have to stick there and keep let that lightning strike hit. But I think the film is the cleverest dialogue and a filmography of great dialogue. I just can't say enough about it. Yeah, if you've not seen it, look, The Hateful Eight. If you like Tarantino, like give this one a chance to rewatch it because I'm sure you've already seen it. Go ahead and rewatch it and try to look at it through a different lens, with knowing that honestly somebody out in the world thinks that this is his best feature, and that one is a serious film enthusiast. Your Lord Marcus at your service. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hateful Eight.
QT, what's up? Let's wrap.
Well, I guess now that you've grabbed that, you've pulled some heat away from some other spaces. So the question is, do I grab... I think I'm going to go for horror, and I'm going to take The Witch. Robert Eggers' debut.
I was really hoping.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
I was actually really, really hoping
that
you were going to pick that because this is exactly what I predicted earlier was I'm going to leave this film on the board for you because I'm going to remind you every single draft about the weight of published media and that Mr. B has prioritized a horror movie over some other maybe something that's more your brand. I'm glad you have it, but I am going to like.
So you think it's an interesting? You think it's an off-brand draft for me?
Let's just break down the premise of the movie really quick. Not only is it a horror movie, but it's a horror movie that features the most. The Christians in this movie are so Christian. I mean, they are so devout that they are ostracized and banished from their Puritan community because they are too intensely Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of these Christians survive to the end of the film? Nope. Well, and who are they defeated? Who are these? Extremely puritanical Christians defeated by Black Phillip.
I mean,
character of the best villain of all time.
Best villain of all time. I guess, unfortunately, we've given away the film, so unless we cut that out, but
because it's a joy to watch because I understand why you picked it, but I'm like, man, this is so off-brand. I was like, I really want this, but I gotta try. I gotta find some value about it.
This is why you'll love me drafting it even more. Because you're saying this is off-brand for me. Well, let me tell you, I had trouble sleeping the following nights from watching the movie the first time. That's yeah. It's not a.
I look.
It's not a. It's not a happy film.
You drafting this is a win for me.
It was,
and
yeah.
it will end up on my team eventually. But here's the thing: you drafting it is a win for me and for this podcast and for the listeners. Because here's the thing: it allows us to talk more about how how acceptable or even desirable it is to embrace a certain type of a film that is, it's classified by most people as a horror movie, but it can also challenge people to like, what is a horror movie? And I know the first time that I'll just say mad shout out. Who did you watch this film with first? Who introduced you to this film?
You did. And you introduced me to Eggers as well. And I feel like we've mentioned that before because it's a famous, the partial birth of the film dogs, this in the Lighthouse.
I'd say to keep in line with The Witch that it kind of, like for 99% of the film, and sort of the 1% being the last 1%, is that one of the things I love about it, besides that Robert Eggers is just so dedicated to his craft, it's beautiful to look at. He used all natural lighting. Everything was meant to be period from the 15th century. It was just, man, it was beautiful to watch. But the thing about like the sort of the horror aspect of it that I loved was that it was more about the horror of the mind and these I can't say enough about it. Like it sort of indicates like people are afraid of the supernatural and there's no real supernatural element to it. So what is the horror, and how does a master like Robert Eggers define horror and present that to us in such a pure and connected, energetic way? It's great film. It's a great film to watch. Most people that I know that have watched it are like, "Oh man, it's a slow burn." They don't like, for horror movies, they want slashers, and this is a meditative film that's not really about the supernatural. It's about many things. I can't say that. I'm glad that it's currently on your team, but because it opens up a lot of conversation, and the fact that I would give the floor to talk about it even a little bit more, even though it's on your team. But that. I did wrestle. I want this, but I also was like, given the opportunity for you to take it will allow me to explore more themes like that, because now I can always reference that it's on your. Like, well, you've got The Witch on your team, then why can't we talk about Mother! Exclamation point, or why can't we talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Or not that we're going to talk about that, but I'm just saying, like, overall, I think it gives me a little power for it to be on your team to go a little dark when I want to go thematically dark instead of light and entertainment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Mrs. B recently described me to my parents on cinema and music, and she goes, Brent neither wants dark or really happy. There's no in between. I don't know. Actually, sorry. She explained it better. She said it's either dark or she's like, or he's watching Paddington 2 or like Fantastic Mr. Fox. She's like, he's either a child or he's like dark
or a serial killer.
Yeah. Watching Fincher again.
Boom.
Excellent. So
great pick.
Yeah. And dude, so far this is a amazing draft. So many good films that we get to talk about and that are passionate about. It's a great year, man. Great year. And there's still so many movies on the board that I'm trying to figure out where we're going to. Yeah.
I kind of like, I was prepared to make a revenge pick after The Witch, because I was like, oh, well, I really do want it on my team. And I feel like I will eventually acquire it via trade.
Okay.
It might have to be a trade that involves a lot of other films. Maybe. I don't know. I kind of feel like eventually it belongs with me, but for the time being, I'm happy just to be conversing about it.
Okay. I think I know what you're going to pick now with that lead up to it.
No, I don't think you do.
I think I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. In comedy, I'm taking The Lobster by Yorgos Lanthimos.
Oh my God. You told me off microphone that
No, I
you
didn't.
would never steal
Terrence
this
Malick.
film.
No, I did not say The Lobster. I said Terrence Malick I would never, ever take. So I kind of feel like if I want The Witch right now that I could have it. But with my third pick in the 2015
You
Film
son
Dog
of
Draft,
a bitch.
I told you to take the ones you loved the most. I told you.
I thought
just
it was
told you.
safe.
What? No.
I literally thought it was safe. That's why I didn't draft it. Otherwise, that would have probably been my first pick.
Yeah, well, I kind of said, dude, pick your 5-star films that you want the most. I'll respectfully remind you that there's another one on the board. That if you don't take it soon, I'm going to take it.
Dude, there's so many films.
I know.
You got to get off my back. There's so
I'm
many
taking
films.
The Lobster with my third pick.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
In comedy.
Okay. Okay.
I think
I'm going to try and pull myself together.
We've talked about The Lobster recently.
I've rewatched it 3 times. Yeah.
So I don't think we need to do a big synopsis about it. If we've got new viewers, go back and listen to our episode.
Yeah, we talked about it on our watch list. I think we've referenced it on other stuff as well. Yeah, I've made my spouse watch it. Yeah, it's made the rounds. Okay, so because of that, I think I have to go in 2 routes because I've left it on the board. And you already took something. Okay. I'll do Box Office Darling, and I'll take Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Oh shit! What?
It's the right choice. I don't and I don't want to really crap on films. That's not really the point of the podcast. For me personally, I like it when
I like The Force Awakens.
When I say something and then you light it on fire. I like it when you will crap on something, but
And you get to save it.
But this was it was an iconic movie. The comeback.
What have I ever said? I've never said anything bad about The Force Awakens.
Fine. But the trailer, seeing the Millennium Falcon again on screen, actually made I cried.
I saw Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
At Lake Bariache in Chile, South America, on opening night.
And guess
subtitles.
My Force Awakens story is I was the most sick I had ever been in my whole life. I had an ear infection, I had a throat infection, and I had a sinus infection, and I was on all these antibiotics. Oh, and I had some sort of stomach bug. So I ended up having to take like a week off of work. I was so out of sorts. And my first day I was better was literally the premiere of Star Wars. And I go, I don't care if I have 23 diseases and other people will get sick. I'm going to see this on opening day. And I actually it was my first day. I actually felt like a human again. And for my treat as an adult and as someone who had gotten through that illness, I went and I bought the Millennium Falcon Lego Star Wars from the movie. And it was in the bag next to me while I was sitting in the cinema at the premiere. So I watched it on the premiere. I was in Sydney at that time. I think I saw it in Newtown, or no, maybe Glebe or something like that. It was a great day off, a great memory. So I've drafted a memory. I've drafted the coming back of Star Wars, probably the most influential films for me of my whole life. So it's good to get this one, to get The Force Awakens, and for me to still have Harrison Ford and Han Solo, childhood hero. I died when Han Solo died in that movie.
It was.
I was so pissed.
It was not my introduction to Adam Driver, but
it was mine.
His casting into the film was my introduction to Adam Driver, and so prior to seeing the film, I wanted to see a couple of the other things that he had been in, and the really only thing that I could find was Girls.
Okay.
So it really kind of, as a feature film, as a film actor, it was my introduction to Adam Driver. Man, I can't he is, I think, the best actor that the Star Wars franchise as a whole has ever had on their hands. I guess Forrest Whitaker's pretty good as well. There's good actors, but I think Adam Driver is exceptionally better than everybody else for me, for what I prefer from people that take the craft seriously, particularly in a genre like sci-fi. I'm just, I guess I'm just sort of surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. I wouldn't have thought that wouldn't have. I would not have predicted that being on your draft board.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Was it on yours?
Not at all. No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm worried on your next picks then, because well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I am. I don't know. What do you got?
There's really only one box office left that I really like, because you've already taken Mad Max. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do you a favor. I was gonna take one, but I know I know you've rated it as 5-star. I'm not going to take it.
Yeah.
The one that features one of your draft picks already.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hurt your feelings again.
Okay.
I've already destroyed you with the lobster pick. And box office darling, I'm going to take The Martian.
Yeah. No, good pick. I left that on the board for you. You like sci-fi. I couldn't remember if you loved this movie or not, but I didn't need to have it.
The other one that I'm referring to, you can have it last, so you can pick whatever you want. I'll let you have that one.
Yeah.
But with The Martian, like it, yeah, love it. Minor love. I said like a minor, like 4.5. Like it's intensely rewatchable.
Yes. Yes.
Now, my father, having worked for NASA, always points out like all like technical people who get in to be like, oh, well, like they couldn't have done that. Hey, for most of us, it sounds pretty daggone straight up, very realistic, very believable. Yeah, look, I love the survive. Like, there's all these solo scenes. Matt Damon carries it, kind of like Tom Hanks does in Castaway. But there's all this rest of the supporting cast and the story that's going on, and the world joins in harmony to get this one man home from Mars. You know, like, it's the feel good. It's my feel good. Like, this for me is feel good movie. Like, it takes a disaster, but people come together to solve problems. And that, like, you know, fiction is happier than reality. And in this case, you know, the entire world coming together, or United States and China coming together to save an American astronaut that's stranded on Mars. Like, that is a world that I would love to live in. And I would love to do the things that maybe would encourage other people to do the same. Yeah. Just a harmony among humans to accomplish and solve problems. And instead of what we have. Like, this is such a feel-good movie for that reason, but also it being genre fits in with a lot of my other films that I have that sort of tackle outer space and wilderness themes, and how you know, people cope mental health wise with long periods of being alone. But it's like when he's coming in to get rescued by Jessica Chastain, it was like, oh my God, I hope they don't miss, because it's, you know, like, it gives you. It's suspenseful. It's thrilling. It covers a lot of genres. I actually do love this film. It could have been a number one pick, but I was pretty sure you weren't going to be taking that in your top 5.
Well, yeah, you chose right. I wasn't sure if you were going to pick this or where, because there's a lot of movies that fit sci-fi in this year. And so I wondered, if he's going to try and hit some sci-fi, he's going to have to go for the drama ones. And that's how he got Ex Machina, which I thought that would be what you would do. But there was still some others, so I wondered if you're going to use Wild Card. Yes. It was on my board multiple times. And a debatable first draft when I thought The Lobster was safe.
Well, like Mad Max could have gone first. Ex Machina could have gone first.
Yeah, correct.
The Witch could have gone first. Yeah. Mad Max could have gone first. Hateful Eight could have gone first. Like, we got multiple picks that could have gone first.
Well, I think I'm going to go. I've got two routes to go here, but I'm going to go for the one that I think you're going to take next. And I'm drafting off of how you've rated films.
Okay.
And you highly rated this one more than another one that I would really like to get. And you've already filled one of the boxes where I would normally slot that film. So I think this one film's going to be safe with me. So I'm going to go this route and go for what I would consider Blood, because I think you really want this film and didn't think I was going to draft it. I'm going to take Sicario. Yeah.
All right. What'd you love about Sicario?
I love that it was Denis Villeneuve.
Who was your favorite performance in Sicario? Who was the MVP of Sicario for you?
Well, could it not only be one person?
For you, I'm interested in who you think the MVP.
Brolin.
Yeah, and why is that?
I've become a Brolin fan.
Yeah, really? Since when?
Well, definitely since there.
So what about his performance really struck you as being
not from There Will Be Blood, but from his. Was
Brolin in There Will Be Blood?
No, not from There Will Be Blood. I'm talking about the film that was adjacent. From the Coen brothers.
Oh, No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, No Country for Old Men.
But what in Sicario
and stuff like that?
And Sicario, what specifically about his performance?
Do you want to know what's happening right now? I've drafted a film that I haven't seen.
Good enough to fucking draft, but not good enough to fucking watch is what Mr. B is preaching to the public
what
right
I'm
now.
saying is I have limited time to watch movies at home
Oh,
alone.
but it's okay to draft the films. It's okay.
Yeah, and do you know why I'm drafting it? Because you drafted The Lobster, you jackass.
That's all right. Because now I'm going to reset.
Guess what? I have Sicario and I have The Witch. Come on this side of the table.
And wild card, I'm taking The Revenant.
Oh, great. Guess what? I deleted it off my draft. I had it written in two spots.
You
and
had
I was
it as
going,
five.
No,
it's the only 5-star film you had.
Yeah, but I don't need that film. I am annoyed that it was the decision that the Academy finally give the award to DiCaprio for that performance. Now, he was great in it. He's great. He's a great actor. It was a great movie. But, and cinematography is great. It is a great movie.
But you've seen it.
Yeah, and I've seen it a bunch of times.
As opposed to Sicario that you've not seen.
No, but it's got Denis Villeneuve, and you're obsessed with him right now. And so am I.
So it was just a mean pick.
Guess what? And so am I. So it's a mean pick because you want it. You took The Lobster from me, and I really need to see it bad, but I just haven't seen it, so I can't let you have it.
All right.
I mean, I'm open to trades, man. I'm open to trades.
Out there in Film Dog land,
listen to some of the taunts that you've thrown in the past. I'm open to trades. I don't feel bad for Sicario. You should feel bad you didn't draft it.
But I've not drafted. Oh, man, I can't wait for 2005. I'm fucking first pick is going to be Elizabethtown, motherfucker.
Yeah, come at me, bro.
Right.
Trades. That's what the NBA is. That's what. Do you not know that there's definitely some people that definitely drafted stars just because somebody else wanted them?
I know for fucking sure that GMs that are drafting don't go blind into a draft without having done their research on the people that they're drafting.
I love the cast. I love the director. It gets
like I said, good enough to draft, but not good enough to watch.
Not enough time to watch yet. But I think that's
also
why it's great podcast chatter.
But on record, you also said at Christmas time that you were going to watch Scrooged, and you still haven't done that.
No, I didn't.
So I don't think that we can say with good.
Are you trying to paint my character on this pod right now? Is my character in question, Lord Marcus?
Dude, if you need to ask.
This side of the table. What do you got next?
You're up. I picked The Revenant and Wild Card.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's how much we had to talk about Sicario. Yeah, Revenant. Great pick. Congrats.
Were you taking Sicario and action?
Yes, correct. Action thriller was Sicario. Well, I think I've kind of gotten what I really need. So I'll take, in drama, I'll take Steve Jobs. Which that's a great film. We've talked about it before on the pod. I think we talked about it on watch lists. And I don't really want to go back into it, but Danny Boyle film, who we've talked about before, of Danny Boyle fame. When we were in a Michael Fassbender kick, he's the star of it. Kate Winslet, Seth Rogen, Jeff Daniels. It's a great cast. It's a great story. Never get it confused with Jobs, which is no offense to Kutcher, who I get called my doppelganger. There's something about Fassbender's version and his delivery and interpretation, and I love that it's shot like you're watching a play. We have family that are or that is an actor in Sydney, and I've seen her perform in the Opera House at a playhouse doing a play, and it reminded me a lot of that style, and I found it beautiful. You don't really watch a lot of movies that are set up like just direct monologues and plays and scenes cutting directly to tell the story in time. I found it very interesting. I'm glad I've got it. I think I'm really happy with how my draft is kind of flowering. It's touching all the areas that I'd really want to be stuck with in a year. If you go the year 2015, these are only movies that you can watch forever. And it's pretty diverse, and I'm pretty happy with where the spread's at the moment.
Right up.
What you got?
I didn't really think I was going to get to my end of my B list, but that's okay. Or really, the Sicario pick threw me for a loop, but that's okay.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be in contention for the next two movies.
I don't think
so
we
I'm
are.
definitely
I don't think we are
interested in where you go, because you already took your wild card. So
in the sci-fi horror fantasy category, I'm going to take the film Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah. Talk to me about this film.
This is a surrealist Western that sort of fuses the Western genre and the horror genre, and being a dramatic, it could be a very slow burn. It's got a very A24 vibe. I don't think
okay.
It's not A24. I do think it's Madman. Kurt Russell, Matthew Fox,
Patrick Wilson,
and essentially it I don't want to give away, it's sort of one of them surprise films, but it has a little bit of H.G. Wells' Time Machine. The creatures that were in that, there's something similar. Like it has a real certain type of cannibalistic horror vibe to it, that just makes it a very non-traditional Western. But the director is a serious filmmaker. The acting is serious. Sean Craig Zahler is the director, and he is absolutely fantastic. It takes this just an idea and commits to it, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's a serious movie, and the horror aspects of it aren't too they're not campy. It just gives this super. The best thing I could really say for it is it has this big A24 vibe to it. Yeah, because it just sort of mixes genres a little bit. You know, traditionally Westerns are about heroes and villains, and you don't really sort of descend into any kind of scariness. So for a Western to be kind of scary is one thing, but like everybody that Kurt Russell's involved in it, and man, he picks good projects. You don't really see a lot of B-list projects from him. It's super underseen, it's super underrated, and finding it pops up on streaming every now and then.
Have you watched any of his other films, like The Brawl and Cell Block 99, or his other one, Dragged Across Concrete?
I have not.
Because it looks like he's worked with Vince Vaughn in both of those films, and Dragged Across Concrete's got Mel Gibson in it as well. They're like back to back, 2017, 2018, and look, to be pretty well rated on Letterboxd.
I'm still, like
hovering around the 4-star mark, like, or high 3s.
One of the great things about podcasts, and this podcast and other podcasts we love, and Letterboxd, is that we're constantly finding hidden gems and discovering new things, and sort of even getting pushed into holding ourselves accountable to saying, like, if we like a director, that we watch all of their films, or we at least become aware of their other films. And the more that we do that, then it can actually inflate our value of the films of those people that we already like, because you see, it's like you start knowing what their style is, or their crew is, and what their techniques are. And if you admire the techniques in one film, you're likely to, like, if they're consistent and super talented in their own way, you should get the same vibes off of those films that you would get from the one that originally turned you there in the first place. Now with Bone Tomahawk, it was sort of like, I found it on SBS.
Great movie app in Australia.
Super great. Like, I think a lot of my 4 to 5 star films I'm getting for free off of SBS. Like, man, what do I need Netflix for if I'm getting my juice for free?
That and MUBI these days.
MUBI.
Because we're not really going to be in contention for these other two, but maybe. So that your last pick then?
I got one more.
An action thriller. Interesting, yeah, because you've got to make up for Sicario potentially. I'm going to grab in comedy, animated, or international. I'm going to grab The Big Short. But starring Steve Carell, Christian Bale, Ryan Gosling. Stacked film. Very interesting story. My father is a financial planner, and always grew up with him around like money and investments and stuff like that. And the GFC was a gigantic thing that obviously affected him and his industry and the American and world economy. So I just found this story and the screenplay behind it, how they wrote it, very interesting. It was cast well. It's funny. It's true. And I liked Adam McKay's interpretation to it. So, and for me, highly rewatchable. If it's on TV, I'm probably going to watch it and finish it. So that's in my comedy animated international.
I saw it. I didn't personally connect with it that much. I know that it's sort of like some of those very critical darlings, and award darlings, and certainly crafted by great people, great crew, great cast.
Yeah,
that just sort of, and I think we've talked about this before. Maybe a little too grounded in reality. Maybe.
Maybe.
Well, let's compare it to Oppenheimer, because that's just. I think it falls into that sort of same category, or even Zodiac. Like this Big Short, I would put in a list with Zodiac.
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer, as look, I recognize them as good movies, but I don't connect with them personally, and my soul doesn't feel joy at the sight or the talking of them, as opposed to some other types of films. But I think that it's a marvelous pick for sure. It's just not not a whole lot I can add to the conversation, because I've only seen it the one time, and
you've only seen it once.
Yeah,
I think it's worth a rewatch. And then have you seen Moneyball?
Oh, I love Moneyball.
So I would watch this movie the way I watch Moneyball, of where I go, if you're not into real estate or financial planning, the way that it describes that an investment to people, I think is brilliant. But then also to be able to write a screenplay about a financial event that happened in the world, to dumb it down but still make it entertaining and actually quite funny, because that's why it's drafted in comedy. But it's not. It's like a satire. It's a horror. It's a satire. Like, what happened and how it happened is utterly insane. So I say if you can watch it through that lens and go, wow, normally a modern drama on a life event is super boring and stupid and straight to TV. I give props to Adam McKay for making something that is engaging and a comedy and funny and true all at once, to where it's going to suck in the mainstream to be able to watch something like that and figure out what actually happened to the GFC back then.
Boom.
Boom.
Gosling rules.
Gosling is still king.
All right. You are correct when you say that your pick of a film that you've not even watched has upset my draft plans. You're correct, because that was going to be my action thriller. Fortunately, my original wild card happens to be a thriller. So I'm rescued.
Yeah.
And my final pick of the 2015 Film Dogs draft, I'm taking A Bigger Splash by Lucia Guadagnino. Starring Tilda Swinton, Ralph Fiennes. I've also talked about this on one of our watch list episode.
Yeah, we watched it on a watch list episode. Interesting. Yeah. And that's kind of the point. You're going to find some threads maybe through the shows of who we are as film enthusiasts, and oh wow, Lord Marcus definitely likes that style film or that director, and yeah, they're going to keep coming up in conversation.
And Ralph Fiennes, I think, because I had said what struck me about that particular conversation was that I said if you liked Ben Kingsley,
his
and
transformation,
Sexy Beast, like it's just it's not that violent, but it's super, it's just dialing up the intensity,
outlandishness that somebody can dial up as a human being to play somebody else
and go anti-type, kind of like in Neon Demon. Keanu Reeves is like a super sleazeball,
and like an anti-Neo, he's the devil.
Like totally. I like it when actors do that, and I love it when directors be like, oh, I'm going to get Ralph Fiennes into my thing, but I'm going to turn him into this insane beast. I just appreciate that kind of, you don't just do what's assumed. Like you shake it up and keep it nice and spicy. And,
shake it up. Spice of life.
Tilda Swinton was really great. Dakota, you go back to one of our previous episodes where we talk about it a little more in depth. But I'm super stoked to have a film that I watched yet again on my list.
On the list. What's funny is, do I draft it, or maybe do we just say if there's an honorable mention? Do you have a movie that you'd want to have an honorable mention?
I have a couple of them.
Yeah, okay. Then maybe we'll go that route. Just because I'm just left with wild card at the moment, and I'm not upset with it. I've just got a few options I could go, but I go, oh, there's some that I don't need to like own. But if we bring them up at the end and say, hey, this is a good movie, this influenced me, you should watch it if you haven't. In wild card, I reckon, I'm going to do What We Do in the Shadows.
Wow. Right on.
Yeah.
I have not seen it.
Directed by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement.
Did you see it?
Starring them as well. Yes. Yeah. It's a.
I have to ask now. You've set the precedent.
It's a comedy horror.
I dig it. I know what it is.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
No, I have not seen it, but I'm aware of what. I'm aware of it.
It kind of seems like a movie like you and I would watch together when we wanted a comedy, have a beer and watch What We Do in the Shadows. It's a good guy, kooky comedy satire on vampires, but shot like it's a documentary, and it's a documentary of just these loser vampires. And yeah.
Boom.
But I'd rather own this one because it's a great rewatch, and I've got honorable mentions because I've got children. So my honorable mention is going to be Inside Out by Disney and Pixar, which is
should we have a limit
tells the story of emotions.
Should we have a limit on how many honorable mentions, or is it?
No, I just say one, because a wild card is saying.
But I've got what you've got that, but like you've got an honorable mention of In and Out. I've got like 4 or 5 that I feel like should be talked about that were draftable, but because
you can mention their names, but we can't unpack the films.
No, I won't unpack them.
Yeah, okay.
All right. For me, I've got several honorable mentions: The Invitation.
Yeah, okay.
The Visit.
Yeah, these definitely Lord Marcus films.
Everest, starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I've not actually seen that.
Straight out of Compton. The story of NWA.
Mm.
And most significantly, I really wanted to draft this. I made a hasty revenge pick, taking The Revenant, which I hadn't planned on taking.
Yeah.
That was an emotional pick because I was very upset about Sicario.
I'll trade it.
But what I should have taken and what I really wanted to take is my number one honorable mention, and that is the Michael Fassbender version of Macbeth. Which I really love, and that was what I really wanted for my wild card. So
why did you not draft this movie this year?
Because I hastily took The Revenant as a revenge for you taking Sicario, because I know that you gave The Revenant 5 stars.
You know what's funny is I kind of forgot about in my research because it didn't show up on any of my charts unless I would have done a deep dive on IMDb, not on IMDb, but Letterboxd releases by year, because it didn't make top box office, and it didn't make top 25s and make top 50s. I looked at top 60 films.
We're probably the 2 biggest fans of it.
Yeah, because we like the story of Macbeth. But we also
I didn't think that you were going to take it.
Fassbender.
I know that you were in that sort of Shakespeare phase, and we watched it at the same time about when the tragedy of Macbeth came out, the Coen version starring Denzel Washington, that you really loved, and I know that you've professed that love as that's your preferred version, for all super valid reasons. And for me, it's the exact opposite. I really wanted this film. I'd like to give The Revenant back and take Macbeth, but I made my bed. I'm gonna lie in it. But the Michael Fassbender version of Macbeth is for me the definitive version, and you should go out and check that sucker out.
Yeah, great movie.
Maybe I will invent a draft that will allow me to a 9-year draft that will allow us to get some of these honorable mentions.
I'm sure we'll be able to work something out.
All right, right on. All right.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for listening. As always, hit us up on the Instagram, The Film Dogs, or shoot us a message or a review and give us some social engagements we're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Podbean, our hosts.
We'll post our list as well, our draft lists, so that you can decide for yourself who you think had the stronger list. Let's just do a recap and we'll say goodnight.
Yeah. And let us know what your honorable mentions are, films that we left out from this year that you're screaming at us for not including.
I'll give you a quick recap of what I had. In action and thriller, I had A Bigger Splash. In drama, I had Hateful Eight. In sci-fi horror fantasy, I got Bone Tomahawk. In box office darling, I took The Martian. In awards darling, I took Ex Machina. In comedy animated international, controversially, I chose The Lobster by Yorgos Lanthimos. And in wild card, hastily, I took The Revenant. I would love to trade it in for that.
And I, in drama, drafted Steve Jobs by Danny Boyle. In action thriller, I took Sicario as a revenge pick, Denis Villeneuve. In sci-fi horror fantasy, I took Robert Eggers' The Witch, which also established probably the Film Dog's love of film. In box office darlings, I drafted with my child's heart and took The Force Awakens, directed by J.J. Abrams, and the welcoming back of the Star Wars, but from the Disney catalog. In awards darling, I took George Miller's Mad Max Fury Road, which is an incredible film and a great Tom Hardy performance. I'll take his voice. Some people don't like it. It's okay. Get over it. Comedy animated international, I took Adam McKay's The Big Short. And in wild card, I took What We Do in the Shadows, which is a Taika Waititi and Justin Clement, Jermaine Clement, sorry, directed film, just a vampire comedy satire set in New Zealand.
Boom.
Thanks for listening. Till next time, don't forget, life is too short for bad cinema.
May
Peace be with you.
Woof.